Hello friends, I hope you're all doing okay and having a wonderful day. Today's video is going to be my top 10 tips and some advice that I wish that I knew when I started to journal. I'm so grateful for all of you. So today I decided to do a voiceover because it is a special day. I do feel really uncomfortable because usually when I talk to myself in my room, I know I'm talking to myself, but now I know that people are going to be listening to me talk, and it does feel really strange. The way I've just said that is if I talk to myself a lot, which I do, but nobody needs to know that. The reason why I usually don't do voiceovers is because I am a waffler. I can waffle and go on and on and on. I will try my best not to talk too much, and if this video is too long, then I'm sorry. So my first tip is about mindset. When I first started to journal, I did go in with the mindset that this is going to be so easy. My spreads are going to be perfect. I'm going to love each and every single one of my spreads. But in reality, there would be times where I would sit there and I just wouldn't know what to do. And I think that I put so much pressure on myself that journaling was not a fun thing. It was something that felt a little bit like a chore. So I would sit down and just stress, where in reality journaling is supposed to be something that's fun. It's supposed to be something that a lot of people use as a stress reliever. If you go in with the mindset of my spreads are going to be perfect, then you'll quickly find that journaling is not that thing for you. Through time, I came to realise that it's okay if I make mistakes. It's okay if at the end of the day I look at my spreads and think this is absolutely disgusting. Because as long as you have enjoyed journaling, then that's all that really matters. Because if you don't enjoy doing something, there is absolutely no point in doing it at all. Now when I sit down to journal, I often put on a movie or some music and I just relax. And I do really relax, and there's times where it takes me hours to journal because I'm watching a movie and I just get so absorbed by it. There's times where it will take me 3 days to finish a journal spread because I take my time with it, or because I'm not really sure what to do, so I'll go back and try different ideas. But now I do have a bit more of a positive mindset that it doesn't really matter. I'm typically the type of person who goes into things thinking that this needs to be perfect, this has to be perfect, but life isn't perfect. And through journaling, I had to learn that you can't control everything. There's times where you will stick something down, you'll have this grand plan in mind, and then you'll go to do it and you'll quickly realise that it's not going to work. And life is all about adapting, so that's what you have to do with your journal. I think that my first tip kind of relates to the second tip, because my second tip is that you are not going to like every single spread that you make. So there's been multiple times where I have made a spread and at the end I will look at it and just think, ew. And that's all I think is ew, because it's either the lettering, it's the layout, there's just something wrong that I just don't like. Before, it used to really stress me out because I didn't want to have spreads in my journal that I didn't like, and I actually used to glue the pages together so that you could not see it. But as time went on, I realised that it's okay. to have spreads that you dislike. It's okay to journal and at the end look at your spread and just think, what have I done? Because you're not going to like every single page of your journal. There's going to be pages that are your absolute favourite, and there's going to be pages that you look back at and think, I'm going to recreate this spread. In the background, I've just shown you some of the spreads that I dislike in my journal. Some people might look at them and like them, but they're just not for me. My third tip definitely has to be to try new styles. I'm the type of person where I feel like I don't have a style. Well, I do have a style, I do have things that I like, but I don't have a set style. So when you look through my journal, you do see different styles. You see minimal spreads, you see more decorative spreads, you see spreads that I just have no idea what's going on. And I think it's really important to put yourself out of your comfort zone, because if you don't, then how will you know if you like something? When I first started journaling, my spreads were very minimal. The only real thing that I used to decorate was washi tape and pictures. But as time went on, I slowly started adding different types of papers, vellum paper, ribbons, post-it notes, memo notes, stickers, and now I feel like when I go back to making minimal spreads, I need something more because it's what I'm used to. Now I feel like this is a personal tip and you don't have to follow this, because I've seen lots of people on YouTube and on Instagram where when they do flip throughs or when they show pictures of their journals, the spreads are quite similar. So this is a personal tip because I don't want to look back at the end of my journal and to see every spread to look the same. My fourth tip is all about journal block. Now I have been journaling for a little bit more than 2 years now, and I have definitely gone through some big journal blocks. When I first started journaling, I used to journal every day, and it got to the point where I just felt like I ran out of ideas. And then what typically happens is I would take a few weeks of journaling, and then I find it very, very difficult to get back into journaling because I've taken such a long time away from it. It's almost as if I'm a beginner again, stepping back into it. So if you're somebody who is experiencing a journal block, I would definitely recommend taking a step back. However, when you take a step back, I do mean a single step. I do have a habit of stepping back too much to the point where I try to get back into journaling and it just feels like it's out of reach, that I'll sit there and it's almost as if my block is still there. During this block, I recommend to do things that make you happy. If journaling is your only hobby, I really don't want to be mean, but you need to find another hobby, because once you have a block in one hobby, you could always turn to the other hobby. You could always do things that make you excited. Sometimes a journal block can be because of stress. There can be things going on in your life that can be affecting your spreads, and sometimes you just need to take a step back. When I have a journal block, I do like to just chill. Sometimes I'll spend the whole day watching Netflix. Sometimes I'll read. Sometimes I'll draw. Sometimes I'll just be with my pets. There is no right way to get rid of a block. You just have to figure out what works best for you. My fourth tip and my fifth tip kind of relate, because one thing that I would definitely recommend everyone is to find inspiration. So whether you're on Pinterest, Tumblr, wait, do people still use Tumblr, or Instagram? Look at journal spreads. Look to people who create journal spreads. Look at journal pictures. Just surround yourself with everything journaling, because there's times where I'll go onto Pinterest and I'll see a picture of a journal spread and there's something that I will like about it, whether it be the lettering, the layout, the resources that are used, and straight away I get inspired. I feel like I want to pull out my journal and to start making a spread purely based on one picture that I have seen. Sometimes looking for inspiration from others can be one of the best things that you do, because even famous painters look for inspiration for others and don't ever feel like you are copying somebody else's spread or that you're stealing their idea, because most likely that person was inspired by somebody else too. As long as you don't copy someone's spread completely, then that's absolutely fine. There may be small things that you like, there may be big things that you like from somebody's spread, but it is 100% okay to take things that you like and to put it in your own journals. There's times where I'll see somebody using a resource that I didn't even think about using in my spread. The reason why a lot of people upload things is to share, and because somebody is sharing something, I feel like you should use that to your benefit. The only problem with finding inspiration from others is that sometimes you might look at somebody else's spread and compare yours to theirs. When I first started journaling, I used to follow a lot of journal YouTubers who had been on YouTube for years, and I started to notice that I was comparing my spread to theirs. So I used to actually watch their videos while I was journaling, and I would look up from my journal and see their spread that was absolutely beautiful, and then look back at mine and just feel like there's no point because I will never be at that level. So I definitely recommend following others for inspiration, but only for inspiration. If you're somebody like me who does it naturally, then don't look at other people's journal spreads before you start journaling or as you're journaling, because it will always be in the back of your mind that even if it's not the same style of journaling, that you will feel like theirs is better than yours. Where journaling, like art, is subjective. What I like, you may not like, and what you may like, I may not like. So don't be too hard on yourself. For this tip, I am going to say that you need to buy a good quality journal. When I first started journaling, I went on, I think it was eBay. I bought a journal for £2, and it came and it was the most terrible quality journal that you probably could buy. The paper was so thin that any kind of pen would bleed through it. It just felt cheap, and to be fair, it was a cheap journal. But I had the mindset of, I don't know if I'm going to like journaling, so I'm not going to spend money on a good quality journal. And if you're somebody who likes watching journal videos, if you like looking at journal pictures, then you're probably somebody who would like journaling. Maybe in the beginning you might struggle like how I did, but given some time, you may actually really enjoy it. But if you buy a poor quality journal, you won't actually be able to find that out, because you will be limited to what you can do. You won't be able to use certain pens, you won't be able to use watercolours if you're interested in using watercolours. You won't be able to do too many layers. You may have amazing ideas and try to execute them, but then it fails and you may feel like that's your fault, but in reality it's because your journal is such poor quality that you can't really do anything with it. My current journals I bought pretty cheap, I would say. They're not as cheap as the £2 journal. I think, now don't quote me on this guys, but I think I bought them for £8. Always look at the paperweight, because a journal may look beautiful and you actually look at the paperweight and realise that your pens are just going to bleed through. Personally, I would recommend over 100 grams per square meter. I think that my journals are around 160, and I don't think there's any bleeding in my journals, and it's something that I wish that I would have brought sooner, because my old journal, my very first journal, is something that is locked away and that's not looked at. At least with a good quality journal, there is nothing stopping you from trying new things. So my next tip is to look back at your old journaling spreads. Now I do this on a regular because I don't know why, I just sometimes flick through my journal, but sometimes you can find inspiration from yourself. There's going to be times where you make a spread that you really like, or there's something in a spread that you do like, and through looking through your journals you may be able to find inspiration from yourself. I also really like to see the progress I have made, because if you just focus on your new pages and how many pages you have left and how you're going to fill those pages, you might not be able to see the progress you have made, because you will make progress when you journal. And when you're a beginner, it is more noticeable, but we all do make some kind of progress, or our styles change. And from looking back at the beginning of your journal, you will 100% see a difference and a change, and it is always nice to actually see that for yourself and to see that you have progressed in a way, because it's easy for everyone to just think, yeah, I've made progress, but to actually see it can be a more powerful thing, and if anything, it can motivate you more to keep going through a journal block. Now I do have quite a few journals, so when I look back, I typically go through every single one of my journals, which is a little bit extreme. You guys don't have to do that, but every now and again it's always good to look back. I would recommend to sketch your letters. So if you're planning on writing in bubble letters or a different font of letter that you can sketch, I do recommend sketching it, whether that's on another piece of paper or directly into your journal. I cannot tell you how many times I have started a spread and gone straight in there with pen, and I'll start writing my letters and then quickly realise that I don't have enough space. So then I'll have to rewrite the same thing on a piece of paper, and it just takes more time and more effort. I would rather do that to start with than to have to redo it, because a lot of times when I have to redo it, I do think the original lettering looked better than a new lettering, but there's nothing that I can do with that. Now I've seen people who have the magical ability to sketch directly onto their journals with a pen, and these people, from what I've seen, don't use outlines or they don't sketch, and I am 100% not one of those type of people. So if you are like me, then sketch your letters. It only takes a couple of more seconds, and it's better to sketch than to make a mistake and have to cover it up, especially if it's a really large area. Here I am actually sketching my lettering for my 2nd anniversary spread. One of the hardest letters I find are the S's. For some reason it just never looks right. My next tip is to keep scraps. So I have this tub, and it was originally a little brownie tub, and I keep scraps in there. I keep scraps from paper that I've used where there's only small little pieces left. I keep scraps from any kind of stationery that I have ordered and the packaging is really cute. I have scraps from my washi tape boxes. A lot of times I do use scraps, especially when I've stuck my pictures down and I've realised that there's a gap and I don't know what to fill that gap with. And sometimes you don't need to fill a gap because gaps are perfectly fine. Sometimes a small gap can feel like a really big gap and you just want to fill it with something. So I'll pull out my scrap box and I'll look through it to see what matches. Sometimes I go into my spreads with a mindset that I am going to use a lot of scrap papers. It honestly just depends on the spread and what I want from it. But scraps are always a good thing to have because I would rather have a lot of scraps and not use them than to not have anything at all. And by using scraps, it actually does save a lot of money because instead of having to buy anything new, you can just go into your scrap box and see what you have. So I do have a lot of scraps and it is actually starting to become a little bit difficult to close the box. So I might have to start a scrap box number 2. My next tip is to plan your layouts. Now I am someone who does plan my layouts before I start journaling, and what I typically do is I will use a notebook. I got this notebook really cheap. What I typically do is I will sit down and I will do a very rough layout of what I want my spreads to be like. Sometimes I might include different lettering styles that I have seen or that I just know that I want to do in this spread. By planning your layout, first of all, it helps you when you come to look at pictures. Before I started to plan, I used to just go on the internet and look for any pictures to print them off. And what typically happened was I would either print too many pictures or not enough. But by planning my layouts and my spreads, I'm able to print the right amount of pictures. And I also save a lot of paper. Instead of printing one set of pictures per spread, I'm able to print about 6 or 7 pages worth of pictures. So then that way I'm able to actually put more pictures on a page, which saves a lot of paper. If you're going to plan your spreads, you need to go into it with the mindset of this is a plan. There has been multiple times where I've planned a spread and I have then gotten to actually doing the spread, and if you put my plan and my actual spread side by side, it looks nothing alike, because the spread is just something for me to help me to get my mind around what I want to do, and then when I actually journal, I might put my pictures onto the paper and realise that it doesn't actually look that good. Sometimes things in theory will look amazing, and it's only when you actually do it that you realise that it does not look that good. It's okay to go off plan. This video is almost at the end. Before I leave, I just want to say I am really grateful for every single one of you who has decided to join me on this journey. This is also my first ever voiceover video. Now, I can't promise that I'll make more voiceovers in the future, because I have sat here for 2 hours talking to myself in my room, because I keep recording and then I get tongue tied, or I'll listen back to myself and it feels like I'm kind of slurring when I talk, or one moment I'm talking really quietly and the next I'm shouting into the phone. So we'll have to see. Also, editing me might listen back to myself and feel absolutely disgusted by my voice and decide to type everything up anyway, so we'll just have to see. I will see you soon And also I should probably mention that I am still active on my platforms. I'm not as active as I used to be, because I used to try and upload a video a week, and now it seems like I'm uploading a video a month. But recently I have become really busy, but I do have some videos already recorded. I just need to edit them. I can't believe we've made it for 2 years, and I hope that we will have another great year together. This is also my last year in university. By next year I hope I should have a full-time job. So by this time next year things will be very different, and I hope that we grow together as individuals and as friends. Everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and be happy. Thank you for watching.